The midday sun of Proxima Station beat down mercilessly on the crowded marketplace. Eliara Tren wiped the sweat from her crystalline forehead, her three sons huddled close beside her. The Kryn were a proud species once, but the war had left them scattered across human space, struggling to survive in colonies that barely tolerated their presence. "Stay close," she whispered to her boys. Jack, Ven, and little Rico. Their scales had lost some of their iridescent sheen, dulled by months of inadequate nutrition. She clutched the few credits in her palm, calculating whether she could afford protein paste and shelter for another week. That's when she saw him. Marcus Vale stepped out of an atmospheric transport, his tailored suit gleaming with embedded circuitry that probably cost more than her entire district earned in a year. Humans like him were common on Proxima Station. Executives, merchants, inheritors of the vast wealth that humanity's expansion had generated. Behind him, cargo drones struggled with an enormous pile of luggage, their anti-grav units whining with strain. Eliara quickly looked away, pulling her children closer. The rich rarely noticed aliens, and when they did, it was seldom pleasant. But Jack, her eldest at 14 standard years, had already noticed something else. The cargo drones were malfunctioning, their repulsor fields flickering dangerously. One tilted and a massive case began sliding toward the ground. Without thinking, Jack darted forward. His brothers followed instantly. Years of survival had taught them to move as one unit. Together, the three Kryn boys caught the falling luggage, their wiry frames straining under the weight that would have crushed a human child. Eliara's heart seized with terror. She rushed forward, ready to apologize, to beg forgiveness for her son's interference. Marcus Vale turned, his expression unreadable behind expensive optical implants. The marketplace fell silent. Everyone knew what happened when aliens touched a human's property uninvited. "I'm so sorry, sir," Eliara stammered, her translator barely keeping pace with her panicked words. "They meant no harm, they were only trying to help." Vale raised a hand, silencing her. He studied the three boys, still holding his luggage aloft despite their trembling limbs. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. "You saved my research," he said quietly. "That case contains 3 years of xenobotany samples. If it had hit the ground, it would have been ruined." He pulled out a credit chip and pressed it into Jack's palm. "For your quick thinking." Eliara glimpsed the amount before Jack could close his fist. 50 credits. A fortune. Enough for a month's food and shelter. "Thank you." "Sir," Jack managed, his voice cracking. Vale nodded and walked away, leaving them standing in the marketplace, stunned. That night, Eliara held her sons close in their cramped shelter, grateful for the unexpected blessing. She allowed herself to hope, just a little, that perhaps their luck was changing. The next morning, Eliara woke to pounding on their shelter door. Terror flooded through her. Had Vale changed his mind? Had he reported them for theft? She'd heard stories of humans who offered gifts only to accuse aliens of stealing, using it as an excuse for deportation or worse. She opened the door, ready to face security forces. Instead, Marcus Vale stood there personally, dressed more casually but no less expensively. Behind him stood a Kryn male she didn't recognize, wearing the insignia of the station's administrative council. "Ms. Tren?" Vale said. "May I come in?" Eliara's voice failed her. She simply nodded, her mind racing through escape routes that didn't exist. Vale entered, seemingly unbothered by the cramped, shabby space. He looked at her three sons who huddled behind their mother protectively. "I made some inquiries last night," Vale began, "about you and your family. I learned that you fled the Kryn homeworld during the Consolidation Wars, that you've been working 3 shifts at the recycling plant, that your husband died protecting a human convoy from raiders, but because he wasn't formally enlisted, your family received no survivor benefits." Eliara's throat tightened. Why was he recounting her failures? Vale continued, "I also learned that despite all this, your sons have never missed a day of school. That Jack here," he nodded at her eldest, "scored in the top percentile on the station's mathematics assessment, that all 3 of them volunteer at the medical clinic, translating for elderly Kryn who don't speak standard." He pulled out a data pad. "Ms. Tren, I'm not just a wealthy human. I'm the head of Vale Biosystems. We're expanding our xenobotany division, and we need people who understand what it means to fight for survival, who see value where others see obstacles. Your boys didn't just catch my luggage yesterday. They saw a problem and solved it without hesitation. That's the kind of thinking I need." Eliara stared at him, uncomprehending. I'm offering you a position as cultural liaison for our CRIN integration program. Full benefits, housing in the residential sector, and educational scholarships for all 3 boys. He glanced at Jack. Especially for this one. I could use a mathematician with his scores. The room spun. Iliara grabbed the wall for support. Why? She whispered. We're nobody. Just refugees. Marcus Vale's expression softened in a way that transformed his entire face. My grandmother was a refugee, he said quietly. She fled Earth during the resource wars with nothing but 2 children and a dream. A Centauri merchant gave her a chance when no one else would. She made me promise if I ever had the power to open doors, I'd open them for people who reminded me of her. He extended his hand, human style. Your boys reminded me of her. Quick, brave, and kind, even when the world hasn't been kind to them. So yes, Ms. Tren. This is why. Iliara took his hand, her crystalline fingers trembling against his skin. Behind her, she heard Rico begin to cry. Not from fear this time, but from relief. Thank you, she managed. Thank you. As Marcus Vale left, Iliara gathered her sons close, watching through the window as the human walked back into the crowded streets of Proxima Station. Around them, she knew thousands of aliens struggled just as they had. But today, 3 CRIN boys had been seen, truly seen by someone with the power to change their lives. And that, Iliara realized, was the most human thing of all. Not their technology. Not their wealth. Not their vast empire spanning the stars. But their capacity to remember where they came from and to reach back for those still climbing.